Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for tuning in with me today. So in today's video, I wanted to share all of the eyeshadow palettes from my collection that give me major winter vibes. I mean, it is that time of the year again. Christmas is just right at our doorstep, and I was just going through all of the palettes that I've got, and I pulled out all of the holiday-inspired eyeshadow palettes or the eyeshadow palettes that I do want to reach for when it's cold outside. So winter in general is not my favorite season. However, I do love the eyeshadow makeup. And I just thought it would be fun to share these palettes with you. Again, this is not to tell you to purchase all of these palettes. This is just to give you some inspiration for the winter season. And also, just in case if you own any of these palettes, don't forget about them. Pull them out and maybe play with them. So that's what this video is meant for. I really do enjoy doing these seasonal videos. I also do have a couple of these brand new releases that were launched during this holiday season by some indie brands. However, some of those I've not touched yet. I am quite familiar with these brands though. So I do have different palettes by the brands in this video as well. So it's not like I don't know what I'm talking about. These are definitely brands that I would recommend, but there are two palettes in today's video that I don't know what to tell you just yet because I have not used them yet. But I'm going to show you some close-ups nonetheless. Please do let me know in the comment section down below, what is your favorite holiday season winter-inspired eyeshadow palette? Drop me a comment. I would be really excited to know. Maybe it's in this video, maybe you have a different palette that you like reaching for. For me personally, I do love reaching for cool tones. I also like these more festive, traditional, Christmas-inspired sort of palettes, with the reds, with the greens, with the gold. And I really try to narrow it down with the cool tone palettes because I could make an entire video on cool tone palettes, and maybe I should do that. Maybe I really should do that in the future. I really could have, pulled out 20 plus palettes that are just like cool tone palettes. So I really try to get a good mix of these main three color stories in today's video. So if you end up enjoying this video, why not give it a like, hit the subscribe button, and also ring the bell in order to get notified about my upcoming videos. But alright, you guys, let's just kick off the video with a brand that I really adore, and this year was such a great year for them. So of course I'm talking about Nomad Cosmetics, and this is their Polar Express eyeshadow palette. This palette was inspired by the movie Polar Express. And yeah, this is definitely giving you major winter, Christmassy, holiday vibes. What can I say? I mean, this color story is absolutely stunning. I mean, this color story basically does combine some beautiful icy tones with some blues, with some stunning neutral browns. And then we also have some gold and some beautiful cranberry, muted down red. I feel like this is just such a cute color story, and this is exactly the type of color story I love reaching for in the winter time. It's a mix of everything that I love, and honestly, the quality of this is just top notch. The shimmers are so smooth. It's so easy to work with this formula. I really love the mattes. The mattes are so buttery, creamy, silky, smooth. Such an amazing formula. And I absolutely adore the combination of blue with brown. And I also love a good pale golden shade. And this shade right here is just a stunning, like pale golden champagne shade. It's so beautiful. And everything about this palette is just incredible. It's so stunning. What can I say? I really love it. I also have another palette by them in the lineup for today. I think this was their first release from 2024. This is actually their New Zealand Stargazing eyeshadow palette. This also kind of gives me major winter vibes. This has this really trendy color story that was so common and so popular this year, where brands have just combined like these blues and the purples with some pops of pink. This is a little bit more on the pink golden side. I feel like the shimmer shades in here, they are all special shades. They are all like multi-chromes, which is a little bit different from this palette, apart from one shade that is a multi-chrome. But this is just multichrome universe, okay? Most of them have somewhat of a golden pinkish shift to them. I just think this is such a stunning palette, and this does give me major winter vibes. All right, so let's move on to another brand that I truly adore. I adore this brand so, so much. Last year in my yearly ranking, they took the top spot. I love their formula, and usually I really adore what they are, coming out with. So let's talk about this brand new eyeshadow palette by Gourmand Girls, and this is their Frozen Kiss eyeshadow palette. This is their holiday release of 2024. I created one eyeshadow look thus far. I don't think I've posted it yet. I will do that for sure. And of course, I'm going to be playing more with this palette. The color story of this is so interesting. I feel like these are muted, colorful shades. The shimmers in this palette are truly something different. I feel like these shimmers all have some holographic reflects, and I think it's the first time that Gourmand Girls has done these types of shimmers. This shade right here is smashing, and I did such a pretty look with this shade, and I topped it off with this very holographic shade right here. I really think this is quite original. I don't think I have a color story like this that can compare. It is really, really, truly unique, and I think this is exciting. When I saw this being revealed, I knew I wanted to have this. I mean, I really love Gourmand Girls, and I think this is just very pretty. Again, I've only created one eyeshadow look with this thus far, and I can say that the shimmers are very fragile. They are very softly pressed, so don't dig in there. Like, be like gentle with them, pick them up very gently. But they are just intense, man. They are so, so intense. They are also a little bit more on the creamy, buttery side. Nonetheless, I still love working with them. The mattes are pigmented, buildable, blendable. So I'm really, really excited for this brand. And I also pulled out their eyeshadow palette from last year because I just still adore this one. And this one is just, again, this type of like color story that, makes my heart jump a beat. And this is the Silent Night eyeshadow palette by Gourmand Girls. This ranked really, really high last year in my yearly ranking because I just really love this color story. Again, we have like a blue, brown color story, but we also have these pops of yellow, gold, and just this stunning multi-chrome called Peace. This is just such a beautiful shade. I don't know. I've never seen anything like this. I remember that I wore this palette last year on Christmas. I mean, if I wear a palette on that specific day, it's definitely something special. So this is so special. The quality of this is amazing. The only thing that I always critiqued about this palette was the fact that it does not have a pastel baby blue shade. I honestly wish instead of these two deeper blue shades, we could have had like a baby blue shade. I love baby blue, I really do. And I think it would have made this palette even more complete, but I just love how it still goes from very light to very deep, how this color story is just giving me such a pretty outcome. So let's move on to another brand that I really, really, really adore. And I actually pulled out two different palettes, but I think one of them might be discontinued. So I apologize in advance. I'm pretty sure that this one is not discontinued though. So let's talk about this one first. So this one is the Cozy Cabin eyeshadow palette by Simply Posh. This was their holiday release from last year. And oh my gosh, Simply Posh's formula is just absolutely out of this world amazing. I love the quality of the eyeshadow palettes. They are, I feel like almost like an indie brand that might be slapped on a little bit. This is something I would definitely recommend you trying out. Also, if you're a beginner in makeup, you may really, really adore this quality because these mattes almost blend themselves. And this Cozy Cabin eyeshadow palette, so this palette really is just divided half and half. On the left, we have these warm, toasty sort of shades that do remind me of the inside of a wooden cabin with a fireplace, and then on the right, we definitely do have more of these cool tones, more of like the snowstorm that is going on outside. And also these shades, although they may appear a little bit more muted down, don't be fooled. They are quite vibrant when they go onto the eye. And in the middle, we have mostly special shades. They all have somewhat of a shift to them. Their shimmers look so wet on the eyes without being overly creamy. I think their shimmer formula is so top notch. This is also one of their palettes that does create some contrast. It goes from very light to deep. It's so stunning. It's so beautiful. Amazing quality. But I also pulled out another eyeshadow palette by them. So if you do own this, don't forget about it. It's the Berry Eyes eyeshadow palette by Simply Posh. It is so cute. I really hope they could bring this one back one day. All of these beautifully like curated blue tones alongside with these more like pinky tones. This is perfect for the winter season, right? It is just giving me icy berries, literally. This shade Delicious is out of this world stunning. This shade Berry Icy and also the shade Bittersweet. Oh my gosh, some of these shimmers are out of this world beautiful. So, so, so beautiful. You can create such stunning looks with this. Hopefully Simply Posh will bring this palette back one day. Maybe. I don't know, I'm not sure, but this was such a stunning palette. So if you have it, don't forget about it. And again, I really truly adore their formula. I kind of feel like their mattes are very similar to Nomad Cosmetics mattes. They are very silky, very like creamy, and they just blend themselves out with ease. All right, so let's move on to the next brand. And I feel like this brand is almost like iconic for their holiday releases. I don't have all of their holiday palettes that they've ever come out with. I think they started with this in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. So this is year 3 by now. So at this point in time, they have released 6 holiday palettes, and I'm talking, of course, about Odin's Eye. Now, they always release 2 different color stories per year. This year, I only picked up one. 2023, I do have both of them. I actually did pick up one of these palettes later on in the year. And for 2022, unfortunately, for their OG palettes, I unfortunately only have one of them. So maybe let's start off with the one that I have, their OG one that is so amazing. I actually do have the Christmas Eve palette by Odin's Eye. Such a classic, such a beautiful palette. I wish I would have been able to snatch the Christmas Day palette. It was sold out when I wanted to purchase it last year. And I feel like that palette, I'm actually going to be putting a picture right here. That palette has one of the best festive, traditional Christmas color stories ever. Now, I got this one, which is a little bit more of the cool toned version, but I love this. This is so beautiful. I mean, this color story, the quality. This is just such a pretty and unique piece of makeup in my collection. I'm drooling when I'm looking at this color story. It's just so fantastic. I absolutely adore this. You can create such unique looks, and hopefully, maybe they're going to be bringing this back in the future. I don't know. I really, really don't know. I think last year was my last chance, and yeah, I completely missed out on the Christmas Day palette. But I've got this. At least I've got this. Again, I could drool over this color story about the quality. The quality is just amazing. So last year, they did release the Snow Dream palette, and they also did release the Hey Reindeer palette. So this palette, Hey Reindeer, I actually purchased this one later this year. This color story, to me personally, it does not really give me any like Christmas vibes, any like winter vibes. Not really. I mean, maybe a little bit. Although it's a pretty color story, I really, really love the color story. I wanted to pull this out during the summertime. I felt like so inspired during the summer by these tones, but I can see the vision. I can kind of like see where they are coming from. But if you are looking at this and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is it, this is exactly what I want to wear during the winter months, they still have this palette on their website. And the next palette is individually sold out, but you can get a bundle with this year's release and with last year's release, in case you are interested, okay? So this palette, the Snow Dream palette, is cute. It's very, very pretty. I mean, this is giving me vintage Christmas vibes. I do prefer this color story a little bit more over the Hey Reindeer one. I thought this was a pretty palette. The only thing I will say though is that this is not going very, very deep. So the deep brown shade is actually in the Hey Reindeer eyeshadow palette, and I feel like this one does lack a little bit in depth, but I do love the tones. I do enjoy the tones of this palette, and this golden shade here is so pretty. And you may know that I'm not the biggest fan of gold. It has to be a very specific type of gold for me to really, really love it. But this almost had a brown base and it looked so stunning, so toasty, so beautiful on my lids. And I also did such a stunning, more like red eyeshadow look last year with this. Loved it. This year's eyeshadow palette that I picked up from their collection, they had two. They had one called Rosy Jingle. I'm gonna put it right here. I had to pass on that. I don't know, maybe I'm gonna be picking that one up during the springtime. At this point in time, I just don't feel it. But I also picked up this other palette, and it's called Silvery Bliss palette. I kept on calling this Silver Bell palette. It's because of the Christmas song Silver Bell. So it's called Silvery Bliss. And I did name it wrong in my short, so I do apologize about that. But here is the Silvery Bliss eyeshadow palette. Guys, do you know what vibes this is giving me? This is giving me major Valentine's Day vibes. This is giving me Valentine's Day with a pop of gold. This color story reminds me of the Betty Boop eyeshadow palette by Glamlight. So I wanted to show you this palette, and I did feature two looks over on my shorts tab with it. However, this is not my favorite color story when it comes to Christmas. This is truly a Valentine's Day palette for me. So I do get it that Odin's Eye wants to do something innovative, something different every year, but it's gonna be so difficult if you had these two banging color stories in 2022 to outdo yourselves afterwards, right? That's kind of difficult. So again, it is a little bit more of like something different for Christmas, but it's not necessarily what I want. So this is the only kind of palette that has all of these reds in here. I wanted to show you because it's a new release, and I just recently featured this. And because I'm not going to be doing another ranking for this year, I'm going to be doing my yearly eyeshadow ranking in January. I wanted to include the palettes a little bit in here that I've tried out thus far for the holiday season. I mean, again, if I would have to rank them, this is my favorite one. This is my number 2. This is my number 3. And unfortunately, this year's one would be my least favorite one. Okay, so let's move on to the next brand. And the next brand on my list is Cosmic Beauty. And Cosmic Beauty also has released a brand new holiday eyeshadow palette. I have it. I've not touched this yet. So I'm just going to show you this real quick. I'm just going to show you the inside. So this is the Season by Cosmic Beauty, formerly known as Cosmic Brushes. So if I'm calling them Cosmic Brushes at some point, I do apologize. But this is the Season eyeshadow palette. I thought this was such a cute color story. I'm going to show you a close-up. I've not swatched this yet. I've not touched this yet, okay? But this is really giving me Christmas vibes. Like, this is a palette without any blue eyeshadow. But I think this really has captured an interesting, innovative side of Christmas. I mean, I do see Christmas in this palette, but I feel like this color story is versatile enough to work for whenever. Can't wait to play with this. But we also have the traditional icy blue palette by them. And this is the Winter Wonderland eyeshadow palette. I mean, if you love blues, if you love purples, if you love teals, this is a really, really stunning eyeshadow palette. I will say it is so pretty. I love these purples. I love the shade Winter Solstice. Oh my gosh, that is such a stunning shade. I also love that we have this very pale golden iridescent shade in here. I really, really like this. The only thing I don't love 100% about this palette is the fact that some of these deeper tones, especially this one and this one, I think it was these two shimmers were very hard for me to pick up with my finger. I really had to dig in there, and they were just a little bit like hard to disperse onto my eyelids. But I did make it work but they had a little bit more of that, almost like a sticky sort of texture, and you would think that it would make life easier if something is sticky to adhere to your eyelids and to blend out, but I had to put in some effort. For some bizarre reason, not everyone has that experience. Maybe it's just my palette, I don't know. The rest, stunning. And these tones are so interesting. I really love how this is going from very light to very deep. Love the contrast ratio in this. And I just love how this is seriously giving you a winter wonderland fantasy. All right, so maybe let's move on to the palette that I am wearing. And this is actually a brand new palette. This is the second time that I'm using it. This is my second look. The looks are going to be available over on my Shorts tab very, very soon. So this one is by Bella Beauté Bar, and this is the Realm of Fairies eyeshadow palette. And this is a collaboration with Sassy Fairy. So when I saw this palette initially, I wasn't sure if I wanted it, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, you know what, I actually do want to try out more Bella Beauté Bar eyeshadow palettes, and this color story really spoke to me. And it's actually so, so, so damn pretty. Man, the look that I've created the other day with this palette is one of the most stunning blue eyeshadow looks I've ever done. So this has a bunch of muted, cool toned blue tones with these very, very sparkly, iridescent type of shades. This is just, in terms of the color story, you really have to love these blue tones. You have to love these like muted lilacs, muted periwinkle shades in here. We also have a little bit more of a gray tone in here. These two darker shimmers, oh my gosh. The formula on these, incredible, incredible. However, there are some shimmers in this palette, like this one right here, unfortunately, that are still a little bit too emollient, too wet. So it makes it a little bit harder to work with them. What I tend to do is I take them on my finger and I put them on the back of my hand. I kind of like disperse it on the back of my hand and then I pick it up. I mean, the shades that I've used today worked out fine, but in general, they are more on that wet emollient sort of side. And I honestly prefer my shimmers to not be that wet. If the brand could just stick with the formula that they are using here on these two, and also this one, the shade, beautiful. This also has an amazing formula. All of the other ones are on the verge of being a little bit too emollient. I kept on saying that about Bella Beauté Bar for a while now, that I feel like their shimmers sometimes can just be a little bit too wet. Otherwise, these are pretty. These are very, very stunning. I love the look that I've created today. Definitely. It's a really great palette, but you have to love a little bit more of that emollient formula when it comes to the shimmers. But they are really stunning. And they are definitely very, very sparkly as well. All right, so let's move on to the next palette. And I feel like this brand has definitely nailed the formula when it comes to the shimmers and the mattes. This is by Fantasy Cosmetica, and this is the Cradled in Ice eyeshadow palette. Oh my gosh, do I love this. This is so beautiful, especially for this time of the year. Stop it. This has such a stunning color story. This really has some stunning blues combined with some stunning purples. These shimmers are so glossy and wet looking on the lid without having an issue in terms of formula of being too emollient or too waxy or too sticky or anything to the touch. This is a perfect shimmer formula. It's really, really perfect. And Fantasy Cosmetica has curated such a beautiful color story. Beautiful. Goes from light to deep. We have midtones. And we just have such a great variety when it comes to these frosty shimmer shades. I absolutely love the quality in this eyeshadow palette. And I think this is perfect. Perfect for the winter time. Such a beautiful palette. All right, so let's move on to the next brand. And oh my gosh, I love this next brand. This next brand is beautiful, stunning. So stunning. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And of course, I'm talking about Ansley Rain Cosmetics, and this is the Lance of Enchantment eyeshadow palette. This palette, oh my gosh, it's heavy. It's actually pretty heavy duty, but this is giving me like winter fairy vibes. This color story, so perfect for the cold days. And oh my gosh, the quality of this. Very, very beautiful. And I really do love these shimmers. This shade, Shattered Stars, stunning. We have such a great ratio going from light to deep. I've really enjoyed playing with these, and I think this is such a stunning piece of makeup. Really, really love this palette. And yeah, I mean, it's giving frosty ice queen vibes, okay? Beautiful. In case you are not vibing with these colorful eyeshadow palettes, the next one might be for you. If you want a beautiful, cool toned eyeshadow palette, oh my gosh. This palette is honestly a contender for my top 3 in my upcoming ranking. I'm gonna give that away. I'm gonna give that away. This is this is my favorite eyeshadow palette by the brand for sure. So this is also by Ansley Rain, and this is their Cold Moon eyeshadow palette. I mean, guys, this eyeshadow palette, I can't stop looking at this. This really gets me, and this is so perfect for the cold days, for the winter time. If you are not the biggest fan of colorful eyeshadow palettes, here you have your muted cool tones without being boring. I mean, these shades are so stunning. These shimmers are so incredible. It's one of the most beautiful palettes I have in my entire eyeshadow palette collection. You guys know I am a sucker for a good cool tone. I love cool tone neutrals so much, and this is one of the most interesting palettes I have. And also the other day I saw that they did reveal a new palette which is called Wolf Moon. Can they please stop? Can they please stop bringing out so many stunning eyeshadow palettes? My poor wallet. That's all I'm gonna say to that, because it's just such a beautiful color story again, so up my alley. But yeah, I could only recommend this palette if you want something special, if you love cool tones. I mean, you can use this whenever. You can use this any time of the year. This is just a palette that surprised me so much, and I really, really adore this. Really, really love it. On the topic of my favorite brands out there, this might be my all-time favorite brand. I mean, one of my favorite brands for sure. And I pulled out 3 different eyeshadow palettes by them, one of which only has just arrived, and I've not tried this out yet, not swatched it yet. So I'm just going to quickly show this to you, and I can't wait to use it. So this is, of course, Unearthly Cosmetics, and this is the Just a Taste eyeshadow palette. This basically just arrived a couple of days ago. I can't wait to actually play with this, because I love Unearthly. Unearthly. They are outdoing themselves all the time, and this palette definitely gives me some major vampires during Christmas sort of vibes, definitely more like festive, grungy sort of tones in here. Especially love these palettes that have this type of format. I feel like they give me enough variety, a lot of variety actually. They are so good when it comes to going from light to deep, and then these shimmers, these shimmers. I can't wait to use this shade Haunted Heart. What is this? This looks so beautiful. Oh my goodness. So just keep an eye out on my short tab, because that's gonna come up very, very soon. Most definitely. Promise. Because I can't wait to dip into this. And then I've got 2 other eyeshadow palettes by them that I feel like are leaning definitely more cool toned. Some of my favorite palettes of this year as well. It's going to be very, very difficult to do my yearly ranking, because there have been some stunning eyeshadow palettes, right? So the very first one that I want to show you is the palette called Dreamer. Now this palette, the cover art too, Unearthly is just always doing such a great job when it comes to the outer packaging art. This is so stunning. I did not throw away the box that this came in, like the big box. I kept it, and it's decoration in my house. It's that pretty, okay? I just love this palette. This is so beautiful. And this color story is just so stunning, especially for the winter time. I feel like this is just so beautiful if you like a stunning blurple sort of color story with some neutrals, but this is just not boring. For me personally, I love reaching for this all year round, but I think it's also something that gives me major winter vibes. And I also feel like this was their holiday release from last year, but I only received it early this year. It's just so beautiful. I wanted to have mentioned it, and same goes for the next palette, because the next palette, if you have watched my last ranking, man, you know what's gonna come up. So this is the Gargoyle eyeshadow palette by Unearthly Cosmetics. Oh my gosh, do I love this. Another contender to be in my top 5, my top 3 even. This palette definitely combines everything that I love. I definitely just feel like this color story was made for me. I mean, I love these stunning neutrals, the top row, beautiful. Then we have these interesting sort of shades of like this almost like muted down, cool toned mint with this stunning violet shade. And then these absolute beautiful steel blues with some electric blue. But this is also a color story that I would love for, if I'm thinking about seasonal makeup, I would love to reach for this all the time during the winter time. Absolutely. Would I love to reach for this all year long? Definitely, definitely. But let's be real, it's not going to give me any like summer vibes or like spring vibes necessarily. So it definitely gives me winter vibes. And I think I just really wanted to have mentioned this palette again because this is just such a beautiful piece of makeup. I can't put this one down. And just the color combinations that you can do with this, excellent. Might be one of my favorite palettes by the brand. I really love it. I actually do have 3 more eyeshadow palettes here. So the next one is more of a budget option. This one is more on the affordable side of things. So this one is by NYX and this is their Ultimate Battle Plan Home Alone collaboration eyeshadow palette. This little cutie is still pretty new in my collection. I did create some stunning looks with this. I think this is a good quality eyeshadow palette for the price point. You know, there are some toppery shades, there are some really sparkly shades. The mattes are kind of okay. They are nothing to write home about. They are not like out of this world amazing, but they do a great job. They get the job done. I felt like this was such a cute collaboration, more on the nostalgic side of things. I mean, Home Alone. Like, if you don't love that film, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Seriously, that is just such an iconic film, and I feel like such a great Christmas film. By the way, let me know, what is your favorite Christmas movie? I would love to know. What is your favorite sort of like holiday winter inspired eyeshadow palette? But what is also your favorite Christmas movie? My tradition is Christmas Vacation. Christmas Vacation is my Christmas holiday movie. I watch that every year. I freaking adore Chevy Chase. It's it's just such an incredible movie. Love it. So please do let me know in the comment section. I mean, Home Alone, definitely number 2 spot. Love it. So yeah, I do think this is a really cool palette. It's definitely more on the neutral side of things. So if you are not the biggest lover of color, if you just want something a little bit more subtle, something that still gives you some sparkly payoff, there you go. This is a cute one. This was also released this year. And I think it's a pretty palette. It's really, really cute, right? So I wanted to have mentioned that one as well. So 2 more palettes. Maybe let's talk about this holiday release by Huda Beauty. This is the Icy Nude eyeshadow palette. This palette, I actually do like this palette. Again, if you are not a lover of a lot of colorful makeup, you may really want to look into this. Now, this color story really combines some stunning, cool-toned neutrals, but really interesting mauvey, pinky, muted apricot, silver, sparkly, just some beautiful tones. This really is a stunning, stunning formula. I really love this palette. To my surprise, because I did not think that I would love it as much as I actually ended up loving it. The only thing that I also said in my ranking, this glittery shade called Bling. What a fail. This is so terrible. It's so gritty. It's so scratchy. I would not advise anyone to put this on your eyes. Just ignore that shade right here. Just ignore it. But everything else, I mean, the shade called Iced Out, such a stunning, wet looking shade that goes from like an iridescent shade that goes from blue, purple to pink. So beautiful. I also love the shade Aurora. It's so stunning. Again, I wish this could have had a baby blue shade in here, like a pastel baby blue. My gosh, that would have been it. That would have made this palette even more interesting. But I think this is such a beautiful palette, especially for the holidays. You know, it is pretty. What can I say? I was really impressed by it, and I honestly did not think I would have been that impressed, but It's really, really good. So the next one, oh my gosh, I love this one so much. Again, this palette is going to be really, really high up in my yearly ranking. This is by Blend Bunny Cosmetics, and this is the Longing eyeshadow palette. I'm completely honest with you. I think this is my favorite palette that Blend Bunny has ever released. This is so beautiful. Like, I can't. This is absolutely stunning, and I think if you love cool tones, oh my gosh, like, don't sleep on this, because this is just something so, so special. I mean, this color story just includes everything that I personally love. Such interesting tones. And although you may think that this is repeating itself a little bit, I can promise you it's not. All of these shades pull different enough on my eyes that I can make a clear distinction in between them. We have some beautifully cool toned taupes, beiges. We have these very cool toned olive shades that, to my surprise, I actually loved. We have this minty shade in here. Oh my gosh, I love it. These cool toned sort of teals, these cool toned blues, and these cool toned lavender lilacs. And these shimmers are outstanding, outstanding quality. And this shade, When It Rains, and the shade Love Letters, absolutely incredible. And this is exactly the type of color story that I just can't stop using. I just think this is so beautifully curated. The quality is just so top notch. I know this is not very like festive, not very Christmassy in that sense, like what I would understand under a traditional Christmas color story. This is not that, but this is definitely more of like a cold weather, like stormy weather sort of palette. I just think this is stunning. It's like one of my favorite palettes that I've tried out from this year. It's so, 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 so beautiful. I am really thinking about doing another video before this year ends about some glam smoky eyeshadow palettes for New Year's Eve. Let me know if that's up your alley. Please do let me know. Have you tried out any of these eyeshadow palettes that I put in today's video? What are your thoughts? And of course, please let me know, what is your favorite palette for the cold season, and what is your favorite Christmas movie? I still want to know. I want to know. So just drop me a comment down below. And of course, I am wishing you Merry, Merry Christmas. Happy holiday season to everyone. Thank you so much for the support this month. It has been amazing. And you're going to see me again before this year is coming to an end. So in case you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and also ring the bell in order to get notified about my upcoming videos. And I shall be seeing you on here very, very soon with the next one. So please do take care. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.